5 citizens are killed in an explosive device planted by terrorists in Al-Qaboon neighborhood in Damascus. 1 Lebanese citizen is killed and others wounded in renewed clashes in Beirut and Tripoli. Following the attack that killed 96 Yemeni soldiers, 2 suicide bombers are captured in Sana'a. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. President Bashar al-Assad has issued decree number 173 of 2012 appointing head and members of the Higher Constitutional Court. The decree names Judge Adnan Zreiq as chairman of the court and judges Ahmad Abdullah, Mustafa Abdulhamid al-Hazuri, Bashir Ibrahim Dabbas, Ruslan Ali Trabulsi Matar, Malik Kamal Sharaf, and Dr. Jamila Musallam al-Shirbaji as members. 5 civilians were killed yesterday and several others were injured at Al-Qaboon neighborhood in Damascus. An official source told Sana that an explosive device planted by an armed terrorist group in a restaurant went off, causing the martyrdom of the civilians who were at the site of the explosion. Huge damage was inflicted on the restaurant and a number of neighboring shops and cars. UN observers continue their tour in different cities and towns in Syria. The UN team of observers visited today Al-Mleha area and Damascus countryside. Team members assessed the damage caused by the armed terrorist groups in the area. They also met with many residents there. UN Under-Secretary General for Peacekeeping Operations Harvey Latsis expressed satisfaction over the deployment of the UN observers in Syria. In a press conference he held in Damascus, Latsis considered the UN mission the fastest in the UN history, adding that the number of military monitors reached 270 in addition to 60 civilian observers, and this is the highest number specified by the UN Security Council, adding that the monitors were deployed in Damascus and 7 other Syrian cities.
I do note that, for instance, the International Committee of the Red Cross has been given access to prisons in Aleppo and here in Damascus. We ourselves have some specialists of those issues, so I would hope that the matter can go further, because, let me face again, it is one of the points of the 6-point plan, and the Syrian government reaffirmed its commitment to the 6-point plan.
On his part, General Robert Mood, head of the UN mission to Syria, has said mass media depict a different image of the situation in Syria. He added in a press conference that the UN Assistant Secretary General for Peacekeeping Operations, Mr. Latsis, will go to New York with a different understanding of what he saw and read about concerning Syria. Mood added that he discussed with Latsis specific tactical issues regarding the monitors' movements, administrative facilitations, the legal framework of the mission's work, and Annan's 6-point plan. He pointed out that the mission's task is the fastest in the history of UN missions due to the good facilities granted by the Syrian government and the contributions of the states taking part in it. He added that the mission is working on building confidence and bridges to facilitate reconstruction and achieve greater understanding about specific issues in certain places in Syria. The Russian Foreign Ministry stressed that the powers which failed to implement their schemes to destabilize Syria have headed towards neighboring Lebanon whose government's policy does not appeal to them because it is based on rejecting foreign interference in Syria's internal affairs and finding a peaceful settlement according to the plan of the UN envoy to Syria, Kofi Annan. The Russian Foreign Ministry expressed hope that the Lebanese government would take all necessary measures to restore calmness and maintain civil peace and unity. The statement underscored Russia's deep concern over the mounting tension in Lebanon, calling on Lebanese politicians to adhere to self-control and to shoulder their responsibility during these circumstances in Lebanon and the region. Also in Lebanon, clashes erupted last night in Tripoli and Beirut. Road barricades were erected and violent acts were carried out by armed men from the Future movement along with other extremist members in different parts of the country. At least one person was killed and many others were wounded as a result of the clashes. Gunmen also fired 3 Energa shells on Jabal Mohsen in Tripoli, north of Lebanon. The Lebanese National Information Agency said that the 3 shells hit different neighborhoods in the northern city. Earlier, cautious calm was reported in the areas that witnessed violent attacks and sabotage acts by supporters of the Future movement. Meanwhile, the Lebanese army tightened security measures in the areas affected by tension. Finally, the Foreign and Expatriates Ministry has strongly condemned the terrorist attack carried out by a suicide bomber in Al Sabin Square in Yemeni capital, which resulted in hundreds of deaths and injuries. The ministry stressed that terrorism has neither religion nor country, and that Al-Qaeda, which attacked Damascus and other cities recently, has targeted the Yemeni capital of Sana'a, adding that the blood which has been shed in Yemen and the blood that was shed in Syria are one and the same. The ministry offered the sincerest condolences to the government and people of Yemen over the martyrs who fell in the bombing, expressing full solidarity and deepest sympathies with the families of the victims, wishing the wounded a quick recovery and hoping that security and stability will be restored in Yemen. Yemeni military and medical sources confirmed that the terrorist bombing, for which Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility, targeted a military parade and resulted in the killing of 96 soldiers and the injury of over 300. With regard to the latest developments in Yemen, a security source said 2 persons in military uniform were captured by the authorities. Each carried an explosive belt that weighed 13 kilograms with the intention of carrying out 2 suicide attacks. With this, we conclude our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Up next, the latest business and market news with Gerardo Gregorian after a short break.
Good afternoon. The Cabinet met today under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Adel Safar. During the meeting, the Cabinet amended that Law 26 that has to do with the illegal use of electric power. The Cabinet also looked into the draft that has to do with the establishment of social, cultural and scientific NGOs. The Cabinet then looked at the outcome of the Local Administrations Committee and the measures it did to repair the public establishments and homes in the city of Homs. The Cabinet gave initial approval to the Minister of Information's suggestion to restructure Al-Wahda Foundation for press, printing, publishing and distribution. The Cabinet approved the decision of the National Media Council, which gave licenses to 6 newspapers and 13 magazines. Russia, being a permanent member at the World Food Programme, has decided to allocate the major part of its participation in the programme's Activate to offer humanitarian assistance to the Syrians, the value of which amounts to $4.5 million. The Russian embassy in Damascus released a statement that said Russia has notified the programme's management about this. It is to be noted that Russia is one of the first states that gave humanitarian assistance to Syria, in addition to its financial support it gives to the International Red Cross. On the other hand, the meetings of the Russian-Syrian Joint Committee for Scientific, Technical, Commercial and Economic Cooperation opened in Moscow today. The subcommittees are scheduled to hold their meetings at the experts level, while the general session of the committee is due to convene at the ministerial level on Thursday. Discussions will focus on developing Syrian-Russian relations to serve the interests of both sides in various domains based on the standing partnership ties between the two countries. The meetings will also discuss the possibility of the Russian companies to carry out development projects in Syria, particularly in the energy, irrigation, communication and transport fields, in addition to enhancing trade exchange in order to complete the underway talks for Syria's joining the free trade agreement emerging from the customs union between Russia, Belarus and Kazakhstan. The National Observatory for Competitiveness, the main partner of the World Economic Forum, asserted that Syria has a number of competitive qualities and significant elements of strength in its overall economic environment. The report of the sustainability of Syria's competitive economy, which was released by the Syrian Observatory, asserted that the macroeconomic balance is one of the important factors in doing business and in increasing competitiveness. An indicator of this aspect included the saving rate in Syria, which reached about 19.9% of the gross domestic product, a ratio that enabled Syria to be ranked the 73rd among 142 countries. The report showed that Syria has led 4 key indicators in the global competitiveness of information technology for the year 2012. The indicator that Syria led was the legislative and regulatory environment. Al-Watan Gazette quoted informed sources that the Ministry of Oil has allowed the ceramic manufacturers to import the butane gas on their account after the European carriers stopped shipping gas to Syria due to the trade embargo. A member at the Damascus Chamber of Industry told reports that all the ceramic factories in Syria are at a hold, and many of them went out of business, causing about 5,000 workers to lose their jobs. He also pointed out that the ceramic factories are holding negotiations to import gas from the neighboring states like Lebanon and Jordan, but they are facing many problems because these Arab companies are afraid that Europe might find out that they are dealing with Syria and put sanctions on them.